face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
History remembers moments, but sometimes a moment remembers of people. I speak of the hour when Africa was bowed and bowed, and they have literally watched hope slip through their fingers. Then rose the mountains of Adwa, towering, silent, and eternal. From those heights came the warriors of Ethiopia, united and unwavering. Their unity was a wall that no empire could possibly break. With these flags in their hands and the fire of freedom burning in their souls, the most impossible thing became a reality. Adwa became more than just a battle. It became the sunrise for all those who have lost hope. A spark ignited courage, giving voice to dreams long silenced, echoing movements for dignity, justice, and self-determination. So we honored those who stood, fought, and fell. Those heroes in which their courage saved the entire Africa. Because at Adwa, they merely fought for land, but to restore hope, reclaim identity, and to declare that Africa, unbound, unbroken, and could still stand still. And with that, generations have inherited their history, a light that will never be out, and a fire that will never be extinguished.
Hello and welcome. You are watching Pulse of Africa News, live from Addis Ababa, the diplomatic hub of Africa. We bring you the top stories from across the continent, and I'm Nc'wala. Stay tuned. Let's start with Ethiopia. Ethiopian President Taye Atsqasillase recalled the historic victory of Adwa as a source of inspiration in the struggle against colonialism during the annual council meeting of the Global Black Center held at the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum on Saturday. Speaking at the event, President Taye said the gathering at the Memorial Museum renews the commitment to honor Ethiopia and the African forces that defeated invading colonial powers. He expressed his delight that the event coincides with the 130th anniversary of the Adwa victory, describing it as a meaningful moment to reflect on the enduring significance of Adwa and the message it has sent in the fight against colonialism. President reaffirmed the importance of continuing to write and narrate African history, preserving heritage and building knowledge for future generations.
Our gathering here at Adwa Memorial Museum gives us a renewed commitment to honor the Ethiopian army which defeated the invading colonial forces. This occasion coincided with the celebration of the 130th anniversary of the victory of Adwa. It is indeed a special moment to recognize the powerful message that Adwa has heralded to our struggle against colonialism. Ethiopia is proud to host the Global Black Center, which stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of Black intellectualism, leadership, and unity. It is in this spirit that in our time we continue to write our liberation, narrate our history, cherish our heritage, define our destiny, and build knowledge for future generations.
Adwa has elevated the black spirit to a new level of vitality and dignity, President Taye added, emphasizing the enduring influence of the victory on African pride and identity. Ethiopia's former Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Demeqe Mekonnen, who also serves as a President of the Council of the Global Black Center, highlighted that the spirit of Adwa continues to guide nations in shaping future history. He recalled that on the eve of the 130th anniversary, the ancestors, armed with courage and unity, faced a formidable colonial power and achieved a victory that resonated far beyond Ethiopia.
130th anniversary of the victory of Adwa, that immortal moment when our ancestors, armed with courage and unity, the decision to establish the Global Black Center headquarters at the Adwa Victory Memorial is no administrative accident, but a sacred convergence of history and purpose. This center is not merely an organization. It is a covenant between generations, a living bridge connecting the sacrifice of the past to the possibilities of the future.
The establishment of the Global Black Center, headquartered at the Adwa Victory Memorial, symbolizes a sacred convergence of history and purpose. Demeqe described the center as a covenant between generations, bridging the sacrifice of the past with future possibilities. Over the past year, the center has cultivated partnerships across Africa and with diaspora communities in the Caribbean, the Americas, and Europe, emphasizing that strength lies in collaboration, he added. The Global Black Center has also launched research initiatives to recover and illuminate neglected histories, ensuring African contributions are celebrated and transmitted to younger generations. Programs have been initiated to help children see themselves in the achievements of their ancestors and recognize the boundless potential within them, according to him. Khalifa Mane of the African Union Commission's Health and Medical Service Director encouraged Africans to use the Global Black Center as a milestone for shared dedication.
From the very inception of the Global Black Center, the African Union Commission has stood firmly in support of its noble cause, a milestone that reflected in our shared dedication to advancing the aspirations of people of Africa and people of the African descent worldwide. The African Union deeply appreciates the tireless efforts, creativity, and dreams of the Global Black Center embodies. Your work continues to inspire and strengthen the bonds of unity across communities and nations.
The meeting underscored the enduring legacy of Adwa as a symbol of African resilience, unity, and dignity, reinforcing Ethiopia's commitment to honoring history while shaping the future. At a recent press briefing, African CDC Director General Dr. Jean Kaseya highlighted the 39th AU Summit's focus on health sovereignty, emphasizing Africa's shift from dependency towards self-reliance. He underscored the importance of accountability and ownership in building resilient health systems, noting that true progress comes from Africans shape global health agendas on their own terms.
We are talking about Africa's sovereignty. You have President Mahama with the Accra reset, who clearly said we need to move from dependency to a system that is making us accountable, owning our systems, and requesting others to respect us. The way we are implementing Accra reset in the health system, because you know Accra reset is for all sectors.
Dr. Kaseya introduced the 5P+ strategy endorsed by African heads of state. The strategy includes reforms to international health structures, integrated pandemic preventions and preparedness, reliable local funding bolstered by Equatorial Guinea's commitments, digital innovation led by Ethiopia, and strengthened local production, culminating in a forthcoming special summit. He celebrated African CDC's achievements since 2023, including raising internal funding and increasing utilization rates.
I started in Africa CDC in April 2023, I was told that the utilization rate was 34% in 2022, and we only had 52 million in Africa CDC. Other funding were with implementing partners. Today, we managed to move from 34% to 95%, the highest utilization rate in AU. And we managed to bring internally funding from 52 million to 463 million. It means Africa CDC today is a world-class organization.
Ethiopia's leadership in digital health and AI, alongside a new committee of 70 African leaders advocating equitable global partnerships, further reflects the continent's growing influence. While Africa continues to face challenges such as mpox, cholera, and malaria, resilience shines through Uganda's rapid vaccination campaigns, the declining mpox cases, and diagnostic breakthroughs led by Equatorial Guinea and Ethiopia.
History remembers moments, but sometimes a moment remembers of people. I speak of the hour when Africa was bowed and bowed, and they have literally watched hope slip through their fingers. Then rose the mountains of Adwa, towering, silent, and eternal. From those heights came the warriors of Ethiopia, united and unwavering. Their unity was a wall that no empire could possibly break. With these flags in their hands and the fire of freedom burning in their souls, the most impossible thing became a reality. Adwa became more than just a battle. It became the sunrise for all those who have lost hope. A spark ignited courage, giving voice to dreams long silenced, echoing movements for dignity, justice, and self-determination. So we honored those who stood, fought, and fell. Those heroes in which their courage saved the entire Africa. Because at Adwa, they merely fought for land, but to restore hope, reclaim identity, and to declare that Africa, unbound, unbroken, and could still stand still. And with that, generations have inherited their history, a light that will never be out, and a fire that will never be extinguished.
Every year, the Benin International Arts Festival brings together 8 artistic disciplines on the same stage, including music, theater, dance, and literature. But the focus at this year's 4th edition is fashion, and alongside established designers, it opened the stages to 12 young talents. They took part in a competition designed to reveal the stylistic voices of tomorrow. Third prize was awarded to 20-year-old student Ronalde Hovo for her collection Blossoming. I collected these discarded straws and reworked them to give them a new life. This work gave birth to something new, a rebirth from what we thought was lost. Local fabrics and Beninese craftsmanships were at the heart of this young designer's proposal, a bold way of asserting authentic African fashion deeply rooted in the region. Isabelle Jean was awarded the Jury Prize for her collection, Ecological Splendor, made entirely from local woven fabric. Ecological Commitments was a common thread in their collections. 17-year-old Grand Prize winner Rebecca Hoeno represented to rugby, a word that means mother in the Fon language. To create her pieces, she used plastic bags that had washed up on the beaches and seal shells, turning her clothes into a manifesto for ocean conservation. The jury was chaired by legendary Nigerian designer Alfandi, who said he had a very difficult time choosing between these young talents whose creativity and maturity commanded admiration. The various events will continue until Sunday 1 March in 4 cities across Benin, much to the delight of festival goers. The annual Nc'wala traditional ceremony, one of the most significant cultural events in Zambia, is celebrated by the Ngoni people in Eastern Province. Held in Chipata district, the ceremony marks the first fruit harvest and serves as a powerful symbol of thanksgiving, unity, and cultural identity. The event is traditionally presided over by Paramount Chief Mpenzi and attracted thousands of participants, including government officials, traditional leaders, and visitors from across the country and beyond. Against this cultural backdrop, the president thanked the people of Malabo and Mwefi, as well as members of parliament from Eastern Province, for their warm welcome as he headed to Chipata to attend the ceremony. Thank you, good people of Malabo and Mwefi, and all members of parliament from Eastern Province for welcoming us as we head to Chipata for Nc'wala traditional ceremony, President Haikande Hichilema said. Culture defines us all, and we will ensure that Zambia continues upholding its different traditions and cultures for national development, the president said. He used the occasion to make a strong call for unity and national pride, urging citizens to preserve Zambia's diverse traditions as a pillar for peace, social cohesion, and economic development. The president emphasized that traditional institutions remain vital partners in national progress and called on young people to embrace their heritage while actively contributing to the country's growth.
Proceeding Adwa. Remember this. The Europeans carved up our homes with bloodthirst, not because we were the third world, but because we were the first. Because we held gold in our hearts, because we had diamonds for eyes, because oil ran through our veins and a blessing hung in our skies. Remember this, that when they scrambled in the conference in Berlin and callously carved Africa, searing each African's skin, it was not because of their greed or need to sow seeds saturated with sorrow, but because through Africa's greatness they envisioned their own tomorrow, the beginning. Barriateri, the Italian general, had ice instead of eyes and a tongue of 5 leather whips. Ras Alula was deafened by the whisper of lies that seeped from his lips. Through Alula's agents who could read the tone of Ethiopian winds, their whisper, we will catch the Italian advance before the advance begins. And with anger, that of lions, and a swiftness of eagle's wings, Alula rose, magnificent, and rode to the foot of Menelik the king.
History remembers moments, but sometimes a moment remembers of people. I speak of the hour when Africa was bowed and bowed, and they have literally watched hope slip through their fingers. Then rose the mountains of Adwa, towering, silent, and eternal. From those heights came the warriors of Ethiopia, united and unwavering. Their unity was a wall that no empire could possibly break. With these flags in their hands and the fire of freedom burning in their souls, the most impossible thing became a reality. Adwa became more than just a battle. It became the sunrise for all those who have lost hope. A spark ignited courage, giving voice to dreams long silenced, echoing movements for dignity, justice, and self-determination. So we honored those who stood, fought, and fell. Those heroes in which their courage saved the entire Africa. Because at Adwa, they merely fought for land, but to restore hope, reclaim identity, and to declare that Africa, unbound, unbroken, and could still stand still. And with that, generations have inherited their history, a light that will never be out, and a fire that will never be extinguished.
Shifting to business news, Nigeria's economy growth picked up slightly in the fourth quarter of last year, reaching 4.07% year-on-year, following an improvement in both oil and non-oil sectors, data showed on Friday. The growth rate was faster than the third quarter of 3.98%, reading but short of ambitious targets set by President Bola Tinubu for Africa's most populous nation. The National Bureau of Statistics said the oil sector grew 6.79% year-on-year, and the non-oil part of the economy expanded 3.99%. Since taking office in 2023, Tinubu has scrapped costly fuel and power subsidies, devalued the Naira currency, and overhauled the tax system to try to strengthen public finance and boost growth. He has urged Nigerians to back the measures which have exacerbated economic hardship for many, calling them a once-in-a-generation reset. Nigeria's average daily oil production stood at 1.58 million barrels per day in the final 3 months of 2025. That was lower than the third quarter's output of 1.64 million BPD, but higher than the 1.54 million BPD in the fourth quarter of 2024. Financing for electric vehicles transport is ramping up in Africa as confidence rises in the potential for battery swapping, fast charging, and other technologies. Spiro, Africa's largest electric mobility operator, has secured $50 million in debt financing from African Export-Import Bank, or Afrexim Bank, US-based climate fintech platform Nc'wala, and the Africa Go Green Fund to expand its battery swapping network. The announcement came days after Arkwright, another e-mobility firm, received a $5 million equity commitment from the International Finance Corp, or IFC, signaling gross institutional confidence in Africa's clean transport sector. Goko Electric, a Ugandan e-bike startup, also raised $1 million last week from Electric FI, the European Union-funded electrification financing fund by the EDFI management firm. Spiro said that it would use the capital to extend its battery swapping stations to existing and new markets while advancing technology, including automated battery swaps, fast charging, and renewable energy integrations. Headlining our sports news, veteran Morocco captain Romain Saïss has announced his retirement from international football, bringing to a close what he described as the most beautiful chapter of my life. The 35-year-old centre-back made the announcement on Tuesday, citing repeated injuries and careful reflections as key factors in his decision. Saïss, who played for Angers in France and Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League, last featured for Morocco at the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2023, where he was substituted for after just 18 minutes in the opening match against Comoros due to a left thigh injury. His brief return followed an 18-month absence caused by injuries after leading Morocco to the 2022 FIFA World Cup semi-final, the nation's best ever finish. Saïd will continue his club career with Al-Sadd in the Qatar Stars League, bringing his experience to domestic football while leaving behind a legacy as one of Morocco's most respected leaders and defenders. Now let's check the current weather forecast across Africa. That's all for this hour. Next up is our weekly notable programs. Please stay and watch it. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye for now.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
On this episode of The Notables Show, we explore a different kind of revolution. Not the loudest voice, not the most photographed face, but perhaps one of the most intellectually powerful architects of African liberation. Amilcar Cabral understood something many leaders did not, that before a nation can be free politically, it must be free mentally. That culture is not decoration, it is resistance. That independence is not an event, it is a transformation. His battlefield stretched beyond Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. His ideas traveled across Angola, Mozambique, and the wider continent. And today, decades later, his warning about leadership, power, and responsibility feel more relevant than ever. This is not just the story of a man, it is the story of a mind that helped shape modern Pan-Africanism. This is The Notable Show, brought to you by Pulse of Africa. Let's begin. Some revolutions are fought with rifles, others are fought with ideas. In the forest of Guinea-Bissau and the island of Cape Verde, one man understood that the most powerful weapon against colonial rule was not merely armed resistance, it was consciousness. His name was Amilcar Cabral. He did not simply fight for independence, he fought for the soul of Africa. Before he led a liberation movement, Cabral studied the soil. As an agronomist, he traveled across Guinea-Bissau, mapping land use, studying crop, listening carefully to farmers whose lives had been shaped by colonial extraction. What he discovered was not just agricultural data, it was the anatomy of exploitation. Colonialism was not simply political domination, it was economic control. It uprooted culture, it disconnected people from their land, and in doing so, from themselves. Cabral understood something many revolutionaries overlooked. If you do not understand the land, you cannot liberate the people. If you do not understand the culture, you cannot sustain freedom. Across the continent, Africa was rising. In Ghana, independence had already stirred new possibilities. In Algeria, a brutal war was reshaping the meaning of resistance. In Tanzania, new visions of African socialism were emerging. But Cabral's contribution would be distinct. He would give liberation a vocabulary and a moral compass. In 1956, he co-founded the PAIGC, the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde. Yet for Cabral, independence was never about replacing one flag with another. It was about transforming society from its foundations. National liberation, he declared, is an act of culture. For Cabral, culture was not folklore or custom. It was memory, it was language. It was the accumulated resistance of a people who refused to vanish under colonial rule. Colonialism attempted to convince Africans that they had no history, no civilization, no intellectual tradition. Cabral rejected that narrative entirely. He warned of a danger that would outlive empire, the rise of a local elite who would inherit colonial structures and govern in the same spirit of exploitation. He called for what he described as class suicide, leaders abandoning privilege and aligning themselves completely with the people. His ideas traveled far beyond Guinea-Bissau. In Angola and Mozambique, where Portuguese colonial rules still clung to power, liberation movements drew from his discipline and clarity. When peaceful appeals failed, Cabral accepted armed struggle, but he never glorified violence. For him, armed resistance was strategy, not spectacle. It was a means, not an identity. Under his leadership, liberated zones were not merely military bases, they became schools, clinics, local councils. Even before independence was secured, he was preparing a nation to govern itself. Portugal believed its African territories were permanent extensions of its own empire, but Cabral demonstrated that empire could be dismantled, not only through confrontation, but through political education. His struggle in a small West African territory weakened one of Europe's oldest colonial powers and accelerated the independence of multiple African nations. Beyond the battlefield, Cabral was a thinker of global reach. He spoke at international forums, building solidarity across Africa, Latin America, and the non-aligned world. His voice carried the confidence of a continent redefining itself. Within the broader Pan-African tradition, shaped by figures such as Kwame Nkrumah and intellectual movements stretching across the diaspora, Cabral added something precise and enduring, a theory rooted in living African reality. For him, Pan-Africanism was not rhetoric. It was practical solidarity. It was the recognition that borders drawn in distant capitals could not erase shared struggles. In 1973, months before Guinea-Bissau would achieve formal independence, Amilcar Cabral was assassinated. He did not live to witness the final raising of the flag he had fought to defend. But perhaps that is not the measure of his legacy, because Cabral's true victory was not territorial, it was intellectual. Today, when Africa debates governance, corruption, economic sovereignty, and cultural identity, it echoes Cabral's warning when young Africans question whether political independence has fulfilled its promises. They revisit his insistence that liberation must transform society, not simply transfer power. Cabral once urged his comrades, hide nothing from the masses of our people, tell no lies, expose lies whenever they are told. His life reminds Africa that freedom demands honesty, that culture is resistance, that leadership requires sacrifice, and that Pan-Africanism is not a slogan, it is a responsibility. Amilcar Cabral did not live to see the full realization of the independence he fought for, but perhaps his greatest contribution was never meant to be measured in years or titles. He gave Africa a framework, a way to think about liberation beyond slogans. He reminded us that leadership demands sacrifice, that culture must be protected, and that true independence requires honesty between leaders and the people. As Africa continues to confront questions of governance, unity, and economic sovereignty, Cabral's voice still echoes, challenging, instructing, reminding. The struggle he described was never meant to end with the lowering of a colonial flag. It was meant to continue in how nations govern, how leaders serve, and how people hold power accountable. Thank you for watching. This has been The Notable Show, brought to you by Pulse of Africa. Until next time, goodbye.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.